As trainers in this session, it is our job to know everybody's name and to motivate them individually, to be able to get in their ear and to lift the session on an individual level. As far as we can differentiate ourselves from different groups and different companies, we're about caring for the individual. This is also, the Richardson session happens to be a really good one that if you need to use it for a massive group, so let's say you get 35, 40 people, freak day turning up, you can use this. You just widen the group and it runs brilliantly as a massive group. So one element warm-up. We're looking for consistency and continuity through every session. So we're trying to get the same warm-up at every location, at every session. And this gives the members an opportunity to learn the warm-up, to do it each week, to get to know each other, and they get 5 or 10 minutes to talk to each other before we then move into the dynamic session. So the layout of the warm-up is 12 steps wide, 30 steps long. And every 5 steps I put down a cone. So then the actual warm-up, we do a very simple run, a dynamic stretch and an isometric stretch. So we jog through the grid and then round the edge and back in at 50%. Then you go through a dynamic stretch. So for example, a side squat where you're going sideways, deep squat, a couple of steps, squat again. Then you come back in and then we do a hamstring stretch, which is the isometric one. So just bouncing into a hamstring and maybe accelerating off. And then the other leg and so on. Then we come back in. So you've done your run, you've done your dynamic stretch, you've done your isometric. When you get back in, we then go back into a run, but we build it from 50% sprint to a 60% sprint. Round the edge, jog gently in. When you get in, a new dynamic stretch. So this one could be facing sideways, twisting, bouncing. And then we come back in, a new isometric stretch. So this one might be a quad stretch followed by a small acceleration and then the other leg. Then you come back in, you go back into your run. So you're now 80%, so beg your pardon, 70% sprint. We need a dynamic exercise. So maybe a walking lunge with a stretch. So first off, just stretching the hips each side, and then maybe you go into a lunge with a twist. So lunging and rotating. And then further forward, you're going lunge and lift. Back in, another isometric exercise. So this time you might do, not entirely isometric, but maybe a high kick. So just stretching the hamstrings off and kicking back to get the hip flexors and so on. Around the edge, back in, we're now into 80%. See, 80% sprint through, new dynamic stretch. This time maybe side squats the other way, or twisting the other way, or changing directions. Back in, new isometric exercise. So this is high knee over a hurdle, for example. A couple of steps other leg. So just trying, not necessarily isometric, but just taking it a bit more gently. Come back in, 90% sprint. Back in. This time another dynamic stretch. So this time maybe changing direction. So I'm explosive one way, explosive the other. Trying to really get the energy up for the group now. Trying to maybe push them so they can't talk quite so much. Back in, another isometric exercise. This one could be, again, actually we'll go back into a sprint. So build the sprint up to 100% sprints here and then finish with the last rotational exercise and so on. So you really need to get the whole body working, building in intensity, 3 or 4 sprints at the end. This whole warm-up should last about 12 minutes every single time. Then we come off, we circle the group up, we dynamic exercise, so just rotating the hips and twisting the upper body, getting low. And as you're doing that, you then come up and ask everyone to go around their names, so shouting their names out. So even the new people get to know each other. And then we go into a very brief description of this week's session, and I'll be explaining each of those coming forward. The Richardson session is developed by top-level professional athletes, and it's designed around sports fitness. It pushes speed training incredibly well, but more importantly, it then pushes consistency, trying to get you guys as members to consistently hit a point. Set 1, this is called Richardson hundreds. We've set up a 50-meter cone. If you've got a big number of people, you might want to split the group into 2 groups of members. The fast group at the front, the second fast group at the back. make sure you've got your iPhone and you're onto the stopwatch settings. For the Richardson 100s, I set them off on 0 seconds. They sprint out to the 50 and back in as hard as they can. I give them the time as they come in, and for the rest of the minute they recover, and then we do it again. We do 10 reps, 1 rep a minute for 10 minutes. Okay, ready? So on the line, go! I tend to say on the line with 2 seconds to go and go on 0. When they're running, I'm motivating them. I'm talking to them. I'm telling them to run as hard as they can back in, fast as they can. This is speed training. We're trying to improve speed every rep, and we're also improving endurance by doing it regularly. So they come in now, and 19, 20, 21. So that was an okay time. You're looking for the really fast guys to be 13, 14, 15. For the rest of the minute, they do nothing. They just stand around and chat, and then they come back in at the beginning of the next minute. Okay, so exercise number 2 is called rock, paper, scissors. Danny and I will demonstrate this. We're doing 1, 2, show. In this example, Danny went rock, I went scissors. I'm the loser of rock, paper, scissors. I therefore become the prey, if you like. I'm trying to get out of the grid as fast as I can to the white cone. Danny, if he loses, he goes that way and I try and catch him. We're doing 5 of these. The loser of the whole 5, the best of 5, has to do 5 burpees. So we'll just do one example. You ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Oh, Danny, mate. And then back in. And it's quite a fun exercise just to keep people's spirits up. Quite enjoyable, uses a bit of IQ or a bit of cognitive thinking. Exercise number 3 is overhead press, either 40 reps, 30 reps or 20 reps. Just a few teaching points. Members on knee, hands to ears, elbows wide, and as Danny pushes up, he pushes away from the front of his head as well. So we don't pull this way, he pushes up and in front of him. So 20, 30 or 40 reps. Going for it, we'll just do 10. 1, 2. So again, it's slow, good form, good shape, strong back, strong core. Good work, mate. That'll do. Okay, exercise number 4. This is called high intensity interval training. This is based on Sevens Fitness. And what we're trying to do is get the members to work incredibly high intensity for short shuttles and then recover. A bit like you would do in a sports game or a rugby game where you're working hard and then you're jogging to the next breakdown. So here we've got 2 groups. We've got a group at a line at the front, enthusiastic, dynamic couple at the front. And on go, they're going to sprint first cone back in, second cone back in, third cone, and then jog very slowly all the way to the furthest cone, just recovering. And then when they get to the furthest cone, George, who's going to captain the team, the line, is going to shout go and come back again. If you've got a big group, you need to split them into 2 teams. This end and that end count as 1 rep each, and we're going to do 8 reps in total. So, on the line, Jules and George, go! First cone, back in hard, good work, back out, second cone, that's good intensity. Now back in again, and third cone, looks like George might just take this one. That's it, and then from there they jog gently, slowly across to the end. Now I've got a second line lined up, and I wait for them to be completely over to there, and then we're going to set Danny and his imaginary group of friends as well. We'll just wait for those guys. Again, George is now skippering the other end, so he's going to call go when he's ready. Okay, go Danny. Good mate. Go hard as you can, in hard. And our job as trainers is to get in around them, motivate them, talk to them, tell them how many they're doing. It's a really good fun set this. It's good mindfulness almost. They work hard, they get back into that state of jogging back across. Richardson, this is 1.1 functional hundreds. Again, same setup, so you've got the 50-meter cone and back. We're doing 1 rep a minute, but this time for only 5 minutes. When they get back in, you're going to ask them to do an exercise. That's going to be press-ups, sit-ups, squats, Russian twists, lunges, or plank. You can pick any one you want. Again, giving them times, motivating them to hit the same splits they were hitting on the first rep. So, here we go. On the line, go! Again, on the line is 2 seconds to go, and go is on your 0. Go on, Danny! Turn and go. It's good. Hard in, guys. It's good, and you're trying to, As they come in, I'm going to ask them straight into press-ups, please guys, straight into press-ups until we hit 55 seconds. Okay, keep going. At 55 seconds, I'll shout, on your toes guys. And then I'll wait for 58 seconds on the line and then go on 0. So we've come to the end of the session. We're looking to do a cool down or a stretch. A cool down, you might want to do a reverse shuttle run, so you go 100% to the longest cone and then decrease in energy as you come down. Then we're at about 55 minutes of the session. We've got a 5-minute stretch. Frankly, it doesn't have to be that good. You can explain to the members while you're stretching that actually isometric stretches are best done when their muscles are cold. I tend to just do, particularly in the winter when the ground's wet and cold, I do a quick salutation to the sun, or slow salutation to the sun, with a few extra stretches pushed in. You can do any stretch you like, but it needn't be more than about 5 minutes. As I'm going through it, I'll go through it now, but as I'm going through it, I also talk to the members about events coming up and about various things that have been good about the session, that sort of thing. So I tend to ask them to legs wide, roll forward, forehead touches the grass. Obviously you can't get anywhere near the grass, especially if you're as inflexible as I am. Then hands hit the ground, feet go back, hips go high, chin goes low. Stretch that and hold that for longer than I'm going to do it, but not too long. Then hips go high, chin high. That's good. Then I go hips high again and just walk it back until I'm hanging again between the legs. And I look to go wide and stretching the adductor out. And if you can push them low on that one, even better. If they're struggling with this, on one knee, leg out to the side. Then I come into the middle and the other side. All the time I'm talking to them about events coming up, what's going on at training, who's done particularly well during the session. And maybe I'll do a glute stretch as well, so bring the knee across to one hand and just drop into a glute stretch. Then the other leg, and so on. After I've done both of those, I might look into an adductor stretch, so into a one kneeling side, push the hip forward, kneeling side, hand high, and rotate away from that back leg. And again, holding for 30 seconds or so. While I'm in this position, I might go into a hamstring stretch. So that's pretty much it. Maybe finishing with a quad stretch. And I always end the sessions with getting the members as a whole group to face the sun, put their hands on the back of the head, shut the eyes, 3 or 4 long, slow, mindful breaths, just trying to bring them back into the moment, trying to take the energy, the heart rate down a bit. And then we stop, if we can get them to clap, and then head home. So hopefully it's feeling really positive at the end of the session.